Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our first April meeting of the Lee County Board of Commissioners. Hard to believe, but glad to see everybody here. At this time, if you stand, and we'll just have a moment of silence, and then we'll go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. At this time, are there any additions to the agenda? I need to add one, and that is to introduce our new DOT engineer. We'll let you speak for just a couple minutes, introduce yourself, and let's put him as E under new business. Anything else? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Okay, any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, our public hearing this evening on the modification to an economic development incentive agreement with Caterpillar. Bob Joyce. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got some copies.
I'll pass it.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. We're here tonight to request a modification of an incentive agreement which was approved last March for an expansion at Caterpillar, our largest employer with over 1,500 people at the Sanford campus. The board originally approved a performance grant for 5 years, conditioned on, as all of our incentive grants are, specific job creation and investment targets, and the board approved a grant of 80% in year 1, 70% in year 2, 60% in year 3, and 50% for the final 2 years. The total estimated incentive that you approved last March was based on an investment of $29.5 million, and you approved $346,246 over the 5 years. The company subsequently purchased a different building on the opposite side of town in June of 2018, and they began renovations. In the interim, we discovered that the calculation that we had made of the company's original incentive was underestimated. The original incentive, based on the investment schedule of $29.5 million, should have been $402,556. So on the copies you have tonight, we have the incorrect one on the top. That's the one that's got red lettering. The correct one would be the second one at 402. That was the green. And then I'll explain the amended one, the third copy you have next. So at their new building, the company proposed to spend more money. They're going to spend $30,800,000, an increase of $1.3 million over the 5 years. However, the schedule of that investment has changed. There is more money coming in the second year and subsequent years when the incentive percentage is lower. So that third sheet, the corrected estimate for this performance grant would be $400,418. The net effect, the increased investment, and then the new schedule of investment would total an increase of $54,172 over what you approved originally in March of 2018. I want to point out that our mistake was in the Excel formulas that are in those spreadsheets that calculate the depreciated value of the machinery and equipment that's carried forward each year. But I will remind the board that the actual incentive payout is based on the tax value, real and personal, that's reported by the tax administrator. So the company says to us that they may invest 30.8. We approve an estimated incentive, but the actual incentive payout is based on what goes on the tax books. It may be that amount, it might be less. If it's more, the requirement is that this amount, what we're asking for is $400,418 would be the top amount. In the future, I want to let you know that we hope these mistakes will not happen again. We will make sure that we review all of these spreadsheets with the county finance office to make sure we're correct. Just as a reminder, also, this is a performance grant. In order to receive the grant in each year of the 5-year period, Caterpillar has to create and retain 40 jobs over and above the jobs they had on December the 31st, 2017. So that was the benchmark date we set. And they will have to pay an average annual wage for those 40 jobs of $41,526. And they'll have to make the $30.8 million investment according to the schedule that they provided. The modification, if you approve it next time, would require the same performance terms as the original agreement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll open the public hearing for the modification of the incentive agreement with Caterpillar. Anybody like to speak in favor? Okay. And just for the record, if you'd state your name and address for our clerk.
I'll be glad to. I'm Jimmy Randolph, and I live in the West Landing neighborhood at 3405 Windmere Drive here in Sanford and Lee County. And good evening, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in support of this incentive agreement for Caterpillar. I am the existing industry development manager for the Sanford Area Growth Alliance. And I'd like to speak very briefly to their role as a leader and innovator in workforce development. Not only is Caterpillar our largest existing industry employer, but ever since 2012, the company has brought in about 20 local high school juniors and seniors every year to participate in the Caterpillar Youth Apprenticeship Program. In addition to their required high school studies, students spend time at CCCC each week learning blueprint reading, workplace safety, and welding. 2 days each week, they spend time at the Caterpillar plant. The training they receive there provided by CCCC's Industry Services Office and Caterpillar itself. During summers, they work and train alongside skilled welders at Caterpillar as paid apprentices. This program has been recognized nationally by the U.S. Chamber as an innovative and practical way for industry to build a strong pipeline of skilled workers, while ensuring students are leaving the school system prepared for a career with a marketable trade. As you think about the request before you tonight, I trust you'll consider not only the deep and far-reaching economic impact of Caterpillar's capital investment and their payroll, but also the positive impact of their leadership in programs like the Caterpillar Youth Apprenticeships. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph. Anyone else to speak in favor? Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Michael Smith. I'm with Sanford Area Growth Alliance, 115 Chatham Street. This company has been a significant part of our community since 1999. This year, Caterpillar will pay taxes on about $66 million in real and personal property, which is over $520,000 a year annually. Their current payroll is over $50 million in direct wages and another $15 million in supplier wages. We believe that Caterpillar has been a fantastic success story for Sanford and Lee County, and we hope you would support this project.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Anyone else? Anyone to speak against the incentive? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, we'll move along to our proclamation and resolutions. You'll find the first one on page 54. And I'll ask Commissioner Del Palazzo if she'll set this one up.
Yes, absolutely.
Explain it.
We have Miss
Welcome,
Christy
our guest.
Airy here, and she's with the Lee County Partnership for Children. If you want to come up and share a little bit about the program.
Thank you. It's
Good
my
evening.
honor to be here tonight and talk about young children in Lee County. And the National Association of Educators for Young Children has used the month of April, and specifically the week of April 8th to 12th, to celebrate young children, and especially those who work with young children to make them successful in the future. Here in Lee County, we have a lot of organizations that are doing that. The Partnership for Children, the Coalition for Families for One. And during that week, we will be doing lots of different activities to celebrate them. You have some in your packet, and I would like to draw your attention to two. But we're talking about music and art and food and nutrition, all the things that help young children start off a successful career as a student and then go on to be a successful employee. But two I'd like to mention to you are on Wednesday, we will be doing a showing of the Resilience film, which talks about the adverse childhood experiences. And if you're not familiar with that, it's talking about all the toxic things that happen to some children and who later become adults. And instead of asking what's wrong with you, we'd like to frame that discussion to what has happened to you and how as a community we can support those families and especially those children who might be dealing with some of those things. And this film is a great way to kind of expose you to some of those experiences and some ways that some other communities are doing that. So we'll be showing that at 12 noon on Wednesday the 10th and at 6 p.m. and an invitation will follow. And then on Friday, all of our child care providers will be giving their parents stickers that say, I am at work today because of my child care provider. There are many families, all of you might not be here or might not have been at work today if it weren't for your child care provider. And we have a lot of good quality educators in our community, and we want to celebrate those during this week. So we appreciate your interest and willingness to help us promote and celebrate this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Yes. And I'll go ahead and read the proclamation now. Whereas investment in our youngest children helps build bright futures for children and families and create significant economic benefits for Lee County. And whereas all children must enter school ready to succeed, and the best interest of our children must be a priority for leaders and policymakers. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and to the prosperity of our society. And whereas Lee County Partnership for Children, along with the Coalition for Families in Lee County, are working to promote and inspire high-quality early childhood experiences for our community's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in Lee County. And whereas these organizations, in conjunction with the North Carolina Association for the Education of Young Children and the National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 7th through the 13th of 2019. And whereas teachers and others who work with or on behalf of young children birth through age 8 who make a difference in the lives of young children in Lee County deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas citizens of Lee County are encouraged to celebrate child care providers throughout the county for their dedication to providing care for the children of working parents and providing them with quality early childhood experiences. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lee County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 7th through the 13th of 2019 as Week of the Young Child in Lee County, North Carolina, and call upon residents to observe this week by working to support and invest in early childhood education in Lee County. Very good.
So, put that in form of a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. If you want to present that to her, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Thank you. All right. Notice that Ms. Del Plazo serves on our Lee County Partnership for Children.
Yes.
She is on the front lines of those causes. And next is the resolution honoring the service of the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department.
Okay.
And we'll have Commissioner Smith do the honors here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution is honoring the service of the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department. Whereas the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department was founded in 1953 by a group of local citizens wanting to provide fire protection to the area. Whereas the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department has a long history of volunteerism, which is exemplified by their volunteer service and dedication to the Cape Fear community. Whereas the members of the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department volunteer their time to provide for the safety and protection of the community. Whereas this volunteer service is required at all times of the day and night and holidays and in perilous weather conditions. Whereas this volunteer service, along with all the selfless benefit of the community, can place the volunteers in harm's way and at personal risk. Whereas it is important to recognize the enormity of the day-to-day sacrifices and heroism of the volunteer members of the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department. Whereas the members of the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department have worked hard over the past year to prepare for inspection rating by the North Carolina State Fire Marshal's Office. Whereas the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department is one of 7 volunteer fire departments within Lee County and have established standards for others to follow. Whereas all of their hard work, training, planning, and preparation resulted in Cape Fear Rural Fire Department improving their ratings from a 7 to a 4, which will result in lower insurance premiums for the property owners served by the department. Whereas the Lee County Board of Commissioners want the volunteer members of the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department to know that they are in our hearts, on our minds, and that we support them and are extremely grateful for their dedication and the sacrifices they make each and every day. Now therefore be it resolved that the Lee County Board of Commissioners would like to recognize the Cape Fear Rural Fire Department for their dedication to serving and protecting the citizens of Lee County. Adopted this first day of April 2019, signed by Amy Dalrymple, Chair, Lee County Board of Commissioners. And Mayor Andrews is going to be receiving this on behalf of the Cape Fear Fire Department. The chief does have a job,
Yes.
and he was out of town and wasn't going to make it. And so, thank you very much, Mayor. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For this.
Oh,
And to extend, Chief Billings was unable to make it. He, as Commissioner Smith said, was working out of town, but we will present this to the department tomorrow night at their meeting. So
Right.
Thank you, guys.
thank you very much. Thank them.
And as a side note, Madam Chair, last weekend or weekend before, we got our insurance renewal for the next 6 months, and we noticed it was $91 less. And my wife and I are scratching our heads trying to figure out why, and then we go to the board meeting and they bring it to our attention. So
Now we know.
it's over $180 a year, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work. If people have never seen, I know when I first became a commissioner and I went to the first fire department meeting and it was at Cape Fear and they showed me the notebook and then all the other notebooks. They have a lot of things that they have to train for and keep up with, and they're volunteers. So we don't give them enough credit, but please pass along our thanks. At this time, is there a motion? Is that a motion?
I move to
Okay.
approve the resolution.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
I think it may have been last week or a week before, you and I had a discussion about the need for more volunteers.
We did.
All right. And I think it would be a good time and appropriate for us to start considering doing a study. Look across the state and see what counties are doing for their volunteer firemen and make sure that we're up to standard and to also consider other things that we might do to attract more people into that area. With the expansion and growth we see coming forward, we really need to be ahead of that as opposed to waiting till the expansion's hit.
Agreed. And that's something that through the Fire Advisory Board and our local fire departments, I know I've talked to several across the county, that it is hard to get volunteer firefighters now. There's a lot of things competing for our young people's attention, it seems like. So I know in Washington that was a discussion, and I shared that with you. It's not just a Lee County or North Carolina problem, it's nationwide. So maybe we can put our heads together and see if we can come up with some things. So definitely. Any public comments? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to new business. The presentation of our annual report.
Can I just make a motion to
Sure.
can we get Mr. Brooks up here, and that way he can
Okay.
get on his way,
Is
introduce himself for DOT.
that
Is that okay?
is that okay with everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Say aye.
Have to linger
Okay,
through this
all right.
whole.
Everybody's nodding. Okay. So if you want to come on up, if Ms. Witt will just be patient for just 1 second, we'll let him.
I would first like to start off by saying thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to kind of share some of the news and some of the changes that DOT is going through. I'd first like to start by saying my name is Josh Brooks. I am the County Maintenance Engineer for NCDOT, covering Moore and Lee counties, formerly replacing, some of you may know, Sarah Foster and James Garner. Sarah got a promotion and James has moved to Montgomery County. I've been here about a year now, give or take, and we've made a lot of changes. So the point of coming to this was to try and explain some of that and explain some of our layout and kind of where we're trying to move forward as a department to better the roads in the county within Lee County. So kind of DOT as a whole and a county maintenance operation is we're the ones, of course, potholes, snow and ice, hurricanes, dead animals, drainage complaints, kind of the catch-all for everything with DOT. We have about 23 employees or so in the Lee County office, ranging from transportation workers to transportation supervisor 1s, transportation supervisor 2s. We have an assistant county maintenance engineer, and then myself. The assistant and myself, we do cover both counties. The assistant is a newly added position probably within the last 8 months to ensure that basically one of us for the most part is in this county every day. My schedule kind of on paper is Monday, Wednesday, Fridays in Carthage, and then he would be here in Sanford Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday I would be here, and he would be in Carthage. But we float, go to meetings where needed. But for the most part, one of us would be here daily. I'd also like to introduce Mr. Boyce Bostic. He's our fairly new road maintenance supervisor. We have totally changed our supervision here in Lee County. He's coming to us from Richmond County, the back of that area, replacing Michael Burke, if some of you may have remembered him. But really, for maintenance, the biggest driving force that we have right now is our RMIP, which is I guess a synonym for the Road Maintenance Improvement Program. And it is really an avenue to try and justify and show the need for some additional funding within the maintenance realm. DOT is constantly pushing construction projects, new projects, widening new bridges, resurfacing and so forth, and in the past, kind of the maintenance dollars have not been able to keep up with that demand. We're constantly adding additional road miles to our system and have not really been providing additional funding sources to maintain those. And that's part of what this RMIP program is. They're putting goals on us each year. Kind of between both counties, we have about 5,000 linear foot of cross-line pipe to put in, and about 250 to 300 shoulder miles to basically reconstruct on an annual basis. And basically, the legislature has given us the money to kind of strive towards these goals to make sure that we're meeting it, and that's really why you guys in the last 2 years have seen so much cross line pipe replacement, as well as the shoulder work that we're discussing. Deep River Road is kind of the major example for that specifically. Is we had 13 or 14 pipes or so to replace on that one road ahead of the resurfacing. It's been let under contract. Hopefully this fall, early spring, it will be getting resurfaced, and we've kind of rejuvenated that whole entire road and kind of rebuilt the infrastructure around it to make it a longer lasting road where hopefully we won't have as many maintenance concerns in the future there. Our budget has increased because of this RMIP program. We've been able to hire some more people. Last year at this time when I started, we had less than 10. So we've all but really doubled our forces in the last year, as well as what I was talking about, changing our supervision. So we are really trying to get out and provide a higher level of service and a public service for Lee County as a whole. And that's one reason why I'm here, trying to reach out to everybody. I got some business cards I'd like to give out. If anybody has any questions or specific concerns, feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever it may be, and we will do our best to help in every possible way. We'll at least explain what we can and can't do, and trying to kind of go from there. But talking about all this budget stuff, is they have in the last really 3 weeks or so put us in a little headlock on our budget based off of the hurricane issues that we've had. We still have not really got a lot of we haven't got any federal reimbursement from Hurricane Matthew, and then now Hurricane Florence here in this go round. So there's been a lot of money on the front side come out. So Raleigh is working with some of the budget stuff. We're basically in a low material cost mode right now. We're still gonna have to patch the potholes, but some of the RMIP stuff is getting put on the back burners until July, until the new fiscal year starts over. So we're slowing down just a little bit, but I think that it's just gonna peak right back up, and we're gonna kind of continue from there.
Okay.
So overall, I appreciate, like I said, everybody paying my attention, and look forward to getting to know some of you better and working with you in the future. And I got some cards.
Sure.
Let me just say that I've called this gentleman, I think 3 times, and the next day he's on the spot. So I said, there's, some people have called me about certain issues, and next day he's out there checking them out. And within a day, it's done and taken care of. So.
And we appreciate that. 'Cause a lot of people think the county does the roads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you back us up like that,
Yeah.
that's much appreciated.
We are trying. I really have to preach to my guys, and I think some of it will apply and take some effect here. Is DOT is really a public service department. We're not here to make money. We're here to really serve the public, which is ultimately your constituents in the community. And in order for us to do that effectively, we have to, within our department, have really good teamwork and communication, which is also going to apply to you guys as well. If I don't have good teamwork and communication with outside people within our department and outside people, then I can't provide the best public service for Lee County as a whole. And it helps us a lot for people to reach out. I know it's not a complaints department really for us is what we're going to consider. We don't ride these roads every single day. We have too many it's just not possible. So if people don't call and tell us about some issues or a drainage complaint that they're having or whatever, a lot of times we don't know or haven't seen it. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we will be glad to look into it just as quick as we possibly can. We've pretty much recovered from all of our hurricane stuff. I think the only thing that is left in Lee County from Hurricane Florence is Villanelle Drive, and that is a bridge replacement project because of the pipe size. And it's going to be put until after July when the new budget stuff hits. They should be able to fall out there and get that one knocked out as well. Yes, sir.
You do inside the city limits as well?
The state maintained roads inside the city limits,
yeah.
Yes.
I know of a situation where from the top of the hill, when there's a heavy rain, it just pushes rock, sand, everything down.
Mm-hmm.
And the ditch or trench that was originally there fills up, not just with water,
Yeah.
with the debris and all. So are you department to contact regarding that?
Yes, sir, especially if it is state maintained. If you give
It
us a
is.
call or reach it, or send me an email to the email address on that card, I'll be glad to look at it. And it could be a number of functions. It could be the pavement typicals out of shape, or very much likely it could be the shoulders are high and the water's not able to get into the ditches.
Right.
And that's why it's just pulling everything into the road. So maybe something that we can, for lack of better terms, take a motor grader down there, cut the high shoulder off, and get the water in the ditch and kind of make it a little better, and kind of go from there.
Thank you.
But if anybody has anything, just feel free to reach out to me, and we'll go from there. But we have a CARS, a citizen's action request system that you can do online. I will say sometimes it does not always get to the right place. That's part of some technology issues per se. I hear that all the time, is I put it in online but nothing ever happened, and then when I look in the system I don't see anything. So that number or an email, I will be more than glad to, or the OA will be more than glad to put it in for you to make sure that we do have proper record of it, and we will jump on it from that point.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
And like I said, if anything comes up, I'm here to help.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate both of you being here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Wood? Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
It's hard to believe it's been a year.
It is
Goodness.
hard to believe, absolutely. I'm Victoria Witt. I'm the CEO of Sandhills Center. Sandhills is the local management entity for behavioral health services in our region. I'm here tonight to go over several items with you. I'm going to try to go quickly because of your time. But I do have not only my report, but also a report on Medicaid transformation that I am assuming you are hearing a lot of through your County Commission Association. Before I start, I would like to thank the commissioners for the reappointment of Commissioner Smith to the Sandhills Center Board. We're happy to have him back. Also, thank you for the previous appointment of Commissioner Dodson. We were sorry to lose him, but I really enjoyed the time that he was on the board. So really appreciate Lee County's contribution to our board. The first item I'm here to present tonight is the Sandhills Center County General Funding Request. In March 12th, the Sandhills Center Board met, and for the 15th year in a row decided to not request any additional funding from any of our 9 counties. So I'm here tonight to put in the same request I put in for the past, well, I've put in mostly for the past 15 years of $240,000. That amount stays here in Lee County as the other counties' amounts stay in their county. And it goes toward providing indigent services or funding for folks without Medicaid or insurance who are served here in Lee County. Would also like to remind you that over the past couple of years, Sandhills has been able to work with each of our counties to identify grant opportunities. And here in Lee County, we are continuing to partner with your DSS to provide funding for guardianship cases of folks with mental illness. We are partnering with your health department, your public health, to co-locate a therapist at the health department. We have partnered with Brick Capital Community Development Corporation to provide case management and consumer support services to their residents. We have also provided funding for naloxone, which is the opioid reversal drug. Those are the active grants that we have going on now. We are always interested in working with your county manager and the commissioners to identify other areas. I believe Commissioner Smith has raised a potential of the Veterans Court that I believe you have talked about here, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that also. I also provided for you a listing of the different partnerships that Sandhill Center participates in here in Lee County. We're very pleased with the partnership we have developed through Mental Health First Aid. Your DSS employees are receiving mental health first aid training so that they can become trainers. They're participating in Train the Trainer. Your schools are working closely with us on a suicide assessment tool that we're providing training on, and there are numerous opioid activities, opioid awareness activities. First Health recently awarded a grant that we are also partnering with you on. CIT, always close to our heart, that is crisis intervention training for law enforcement. The next class here in Lee County will be September 23rd through 27. Sergeant Greg Deck of Sanford PD is the host officer. So we are looking forward to that class. You also have in your packet the dashboard that I provide you each year showing the number of folks served here in Lee County, the providers, the funding that goes to support of the residents here in Lee County. For your reading pleasure later, you have our quarterly report, and you also have our annual report. The last thing I would like to cover is this new initiative that's going on at the state level. It is called Medicaid Transformation. I hope this is going to be a refresher to you, because we have talked about, we collectively with the state have talked about this since 2015. In 2015, the North Carolina General Assembly passed legislation to reform how Medicaid is managed in the state of North Carolina. I'll remind you that Medicaid is the insurance program, so to speak, for low-income individuals, families, children, and pregnant women. Medicaid is jointly financed federally and state. The recent legislation that was passed in 2015 is the most significant change in 40 years. It is going to not only have impact on the behavioral health system, it's going to have impact on the local DSSs, social services, the health departments, behavioral health providers, and community health providers. The North Carolina Association of County Commissioners has recently entered into a project with DHHS to solicit input from the counties around this Medicaid transformation. Tonight, as I said, I want to do a quick PowerPoint presentation to you. I'm doing this with all 9 of our counties. And a lot of times people ask me, why do you talk about Medicaid so much? Well, Medicaid is the primary funder of behavioral health, substance abuse, and intellectual developmental disability services in North Carolina. So it's very important to the service system. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
I was afraid I was going to have to figure that out on my own. Okay, real quickly, like I say, I'm going to try to go through this with you. Medicaid transformation, I'm going to give you an overview of the transformation process, but really focus on tailored plan regions, because that's the task that the county commissioners will have before them in the coming months. In September of 2015, the General Assembly passed Medicaid transformation. That was after many, many years of discussion. The 3 main changes for Medicaid are to move it toward a whole person care system, meaning no longer treating the mind and the body separately. This is sometimes referred to as integrated care, but it's the idea that Medicaid recipients should have their needs taken care of in a holistic manner. That I don't think anybody can argue with that. That was a principle whose time had come. The second one is a little bit more controversial, and this is a capitated model. Sandhill Center and the behavioral health system have been under a capitated model since 2012. You'll remember I've stood up here before and talked about how every month we get a pot of Medicaid funding, and it's our responsibility to manage it so we don't run out. If we run out, we can't go back to the state and ask for more. We actually have to look to our internal board about what do we do. I'm happy to report we have never run out and hope we never will. But what this move is taking the entire physical health arena and capitating it, moving it from fee-for-service to a capitated model. It's going to be a big change for physical health. And when I say physical health, I'm talking about doctors, hospitals, eye doctors, dentists, skilled nursing, the whole gamut. And then lastly, the most controversial part of Medicaid transformation has been privatization. For the first time, North Carolina will have private, for-profit entities in North Carolina managing some part of the Medicaid budget. Many states have done this. This will be new for North Carolina. Then in June of 2018, they refined it a bit more and came up with two types of health plans. One would be a standard plan, which would be for the majority of the Medicaid recipients, and one would be a tailored plan, which would be for folks with more severe disabilities. The standard plan, quickly, is the attempt to integrate physical health and behavioral health for folks with mild disorders into the primary care model, meaning that there are people who we may manage now who have mild problems who could be managed through their local primary care physician. The LME MCOs will continue to provide services for the more severe behavioral health and IDD individuals. The state just went through an RFP process, and they have identified 5 entities that will administer these commercial standard plans. They are AmeriHealth Caradas, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, WellCare, and Carolina Complete Health. We'll go on to the map. This is going to be phased in over the course of the next year. You will see the state has divided the map into what is called healthcare regions. These are not to be confused with LME MCO regions. These are about healthcare. These are healthcare patterns of delivery. You can see that the plan is to phase in the standard plans in regions 2 and 4 in November, and then the rest of the state in February. Now, I can tell you, I was in a meeting this morning, and already there may be a little slippage there, so to speak, because of the entities who applied for this, and I listed the 5 that got it, so to speak. The 4 who did not have already filed suit against the state. So this may lead to a situation of extended time as far as the litigation goes, and could even lead so far as to have a judge ask that the whole process be revisited. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about the dates as we're being told, with the understanding that things may change. The reason for 2 and 4 being picked as first is basically population centers, and the secretary and the governor are real clear. They wanted it close to Raleigh so they can oversee it. They want this first phase to be around the Raleigh area. You will note that if you look at Sandhill Center, our counties are in 3 different regions. We have Anson in Region 3, We have Guilford and Randolph in Region 2, and then the rest of our counties are in Region 5. So if nothing else, it is going to be a coordination opportunity, I'll say. Okay, tailored plans, and this is really what I wanted to talk about tonight. Tailored plans will launch 1 year after the standard plans have been successfully functioning. So once again, here's that date that may slide. Tailored plans are set to begin July of 2021. Tailored plans will be specialized managed care plans for populations with significant behavioral health and developmental disabilities, the people we're dealing with now. Only the LME MCOs will be able to apply to do a tailored plan. Private for-profits will not be allowed to apply at this time. The state has decided there will be no more than 7, which works well because there are 7 LME MCOs, and if 7 apply and pass readiness, there would be 7 plans. However, they have said it could be as few as 5. That allows for an LME not applying, why I don't know, why they wouldn't, or applying and not being able to pass the readiness review. I'll remind you about 6 or 7 years ago, the plan was to have 3 of these plans across the state. So we were pleased to see they've at least come up to 5 to 7. These plans will also manage the non-Medicaid funds, the local funds that the counties provide. They will not go to the privates. They will stay with the LME MCO. And we will take on the responsibility of managing physical health for our population also. Now, we will receive the funding for the physical health, and then we will subcontract with one of the standard plans to actually oversee the management of the physical health care. At a later date, they're talking about adding additional populations to the tailored plans. Some are talking about the 0 to 3 population and foster care kids, adding to the tailored plans. Then, after 4 years, which would take us to 2025, the whole system would be rebid, and this is to allow for competition from other entities. That was actually a compromise between the House and the Senate. The House was real interested in keeping the public hand in it, so to speak. Senate, not so much. They wanted to open it for competition. So the compromise was the 2025. This is the LME MCO map. It has changed a little bit because of some counties out east that have moved from one to the other. But this is the map of the 7 LME MCOs, and you can see Sand Hill Center there in the middle. What the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners is now putting together a subcommittee, and I believe on Friday a lot of the commissioners in our 9 counties and the county managers received some letters about input. Basically, the Secretary of Health and Human Services has asked the County Commission Association for input. This is a wonderful thing because you may remember previous plans were a map that was done by Raleigh and handed to the community. So this is the first time in recent memory that the County Commission Association is at the table in the beginning. Commissioner Ronnie Bill of Macon County, who I'm sure many of you know, Commissioner Bill, and Commissioner Catherine Graham over in Moore County are the co-chairs. Their first meeting is going to be on April 8th. What their task is to look at the map of the 7 LME MCO regions and make recommendations as to should that be the tailored plan regions or does something else need to occur. Each LME has been asked to appoint a board member. Commissioner David Allen on the Sand Hill Center Board was appointed at the board meeting the other night. And as I've already said, I'm going around to all the county commissioners to update you using this PowerPoint. My understanding is that recommendations are due June 1st, and as required by law, the secretary will make the final decision. These will be recommendations. The criteria that this subcommittee has to follow is that the regions have to cover the entire state. Every county's got to be in a region. They have to meet statutory requirements, meaning not less than 5, not more than 7. Consideration has to be given to, if you change regions, how are you going to maintain continuity of services, relationships between counties, providers, the LME MCO. And lastly, this will be the opportunity for any county who's not satisfied with the area they're in to put into this committee the request to change areas. Now this has come about because, as I mentioned earlier, out east there have been several counties who have gone back and forth. And the secretary is very concerned that with everything we've got ahead of us, having counties moving is going to cause more concern. So this is kind of a speak now or forever hold your peace, at least till 2025 when the whole system is reevaluated. But this is the opportunity for counties to select regions that they're not in. That's a lot that I just gave you. Once again, the first meeting is on Monday. There are letters going out to all the county commissioners and county managers asking for input. The LME CEOs will also be meeting with this committee. From a Sand Hill Center perspective, we discussed this at our board meeting. I think our desire, so to speak, would be that things stay stable. We've gotten the system kind of where it's at now, that the 7 regions stay stable, especially we'd like for Sand Hill Center to stay with the 9. However, we're not opposed to other counties who might want to join Sand Hill Center joining us. So we are open, our board is open to that consideration. Once again, that's a lot of information. I'm going to stop now, take a breath, and see if anybody has any questions or anything to add. As I say, I know the Commission Association has been very involved in this.
Victoria, with the Taylor plans, with Ms. Noel, with our DHHS, we've talked about just our Medicaid citizens, but with these Taylor plans, are you going to have somebody help those families go through that?
Right. The plan, and that's why it's going to be really important, and I'm going to start meeting with DSS and health departments in our counties. The DSS will continue to be the locus as far as the first contact.
Okay.
Now, tailored plans, if you have a severe disability, automatically you will be enrolled in a tailored plan. But the standard plan will have those 5 entities doing managing.
Right.
And to answer your question, the state has hired a company called Maximus.
That's right, yeah.
And they will be working with your DSSs to help people select the 5. I think that's going to be, if there's turmoil, so to speak, that's
right.
Probably going to be where your DSS is. And the state is saying that Maximus will be on site to help the DSSs.
But Maximus is just going to be responsible for the physical health part.
That
And you will do the tailored with any behavioral help. That's kind of where I'm trying
okay,
to.
the standard plan, which will be these companies, they will deal with folks with mild disorders.
Okay.
So there will be a group of folks that are under us now that will transition, and those will be the folks with, I always say, if you've got a mild problem, it's not mild to you. But it will be folks who have milder issues and they can be served through the standard plans.
Okay.
The folks that we care about, and I think that you care about, will stay with the tailored plans, which are the LME MCOs.
Okay.
But the other folks will need to select the one that they choose, and that would be Maximus.
Okay. Okay. Wow. It's going to be a busy 2 years. Okay.
I've got a question,
Sure.
but
I'm sorry.
excuse me, it doesn't relate to what you've done. First, let me make a comment. I'm sure you remember Mansfield Elmore,
Yes.
who I thought was one of the best in my opinion, the best director across the state. You are running neck and neck with him. You really do a good job.
She does.
No, you really do. I thought the world of that man, and he thought the world of mental health patients, clients. Did everything he could, always.
And he, I'm sure you know, before he started with Lee and Harnett, he actually was at Sandhills in the very old days of when it was 2 or 3 counties. So
Yeah.
that means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the job you do. I just want to quickly ask you about the other 8 counties. We're engaged in the opioid, lawsuit? Are any of the other 8 involved?
I know Moore is, I know Moore has actually retained counsel because I happened to be at a county commission work session. The others are in stages of talking about it, but Moore, I know, has actually thrown their hat in, so to speak, with that. I think I think Guilford has too. I think Guilford and Moore are actually involved with the attorneys.
Okay. Did you all have a role in that, any part?
As far as the county deciding that,
Yeah.
no. For Moore County, we provided some statistics.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure the attorneys, and I think they're out of West Virginia, I can't remember, I think they had already a lot of local data.
Okay.
But our role was, if the county asked for data as far as impact, we provided that
For that county?
for that county.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll power through.
And thank you.
Yes.
And please drive safely, wear your seatbelt, no speeding.
Thank you, Ms. Witt, for all you do. All right. Okay, item B will be consideration of fixed wireless RFP RF2 for downtown Sanford. Mr. Edwards, good evening.
Chair Dalrymple, other members of the board. I am excited to come to you tonight excited and talk about wireless. Typically, I'm bringing contracts or renewals, things that aren't.
I'm sure that was April Fool. I noticed what it was.
But as you're all aware, we've been talking about fixed wireless for a little while. Moreover, we've been talking about how we can deliver broadband options in areas of the county and see better. And so one option that a lot of governments are taking part in, municipalities as well, is fixed wireless broadband. We talked about this at the retreat. And it's not a new technology, it's basically radio, but just at transmission rates tremendously more capable than radio was when it was first invented. So a lot of different counties and municipalities are involved in this: Orange County, Stanley, Wake, Mecklenburg, Chatham. There's even some fixed wireless going on in Lee County out at Copper Ridge. That was a neighborhood that had issues with connectivity. and a company called Open Broadband went out and deployed additional connectivity out there through fixed wireless. So I won't get into great detail. You've got a lot of this information in your packet, but people who would be interested in fixed wireless are areas where there's just not a choice, or the choice is very limited, or maybe there's just DSL, there's just slow connectivity, not great bandwidth. So we can use fixed wireless to deploy speeds up to 1 gig per second. DSL is typically, on your best day, about 5 meg down, maybe 1 meg up. So 1 gigabit symmetrically would be a tremendous increase, and we can do that with fixed wireless. So we'd like to work this project in a couple of different phases. Phase 1 would be in an area that would really benefit greatly from a widely implemented broadband connection, and that's in downtown Sanford. So what we'd like to do is release an RFP that would allow us to look at what it would take to deploy public Wi-Fi in the downtown Sanford area. That would do a couple of things. It would allow us to do that, but then would also allow us to put infrastructure in place that would give the business owners and property owners infrastructure that would let them have additional choice. And it would also allow the county and its partners to kind of get our feet wet with fixed wireless to see where we can take this. Are there opportunities that we can take this to areas of the county that are struggling? So that's our idea, that we bring this into phases, and this would be phase 1. And so I do ask that the Board of Commissioners would authorize us to move forward with the development and release of this RFP, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have on it.
Madam Chair, I move that we allow Kyle to move forward with issuing RFPs and RFQs.
Okay.
Just kind of a quick question. Is this the same company that came to our board retreat?
So it's the same technology. They mentioned in their presentation that they haven't lost an RFP yet, so we're curious to see what the responses on RFPs
Right,
That's
right,
right.
right.
That's
Okay.
right.
Thank
Yes, sir.
you. Any more questions or discussion? You know, they are the ones that did it out at Copper Ridge, so.
I think for inside downtown, I just want to be able to use the infrastructure we have, like buildings and things, and then let it roll, right? And
That's
didn't
right.
cost us anything, just wanted the ability to install, right, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Okay, got a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, let's get started. Okay, modification to the county revolving loan fund.
Yes, ma'am. Back in March 2016, the Board of Commissioners approved the revolving loan fund policy. It was established after Frontier Spinning had paid the Golden Leaf Foundation grant back to the county. We have $880,000 sitting in that fund. We have made just the 2 loans, one to Frontier Spinning, and then 5 years ago we made a loan to the Sanford-Lee County Partnership for Prosperity so that they could do their fundraising campaign. These funds, we have not had a lot of activity. We have had some interest from the airport authority in who we've lent money to previously for T-hangers, and have done very well with those loans. And also Saga is getting ready to start on their next round of fundraising, so they may come back for loans. So the current policy states right now that it's for business purposes only. Our agreement with the Golden Leaf Foundation did say that it could be used for nonprofits. So we're just trying to get some flexibility so we can get these funds moving and help with economic development in the county.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Or a motion to approve the changes?
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the changes to the criteria for the revolving loan fund, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. Okay, information regarding the 2020 census programs and consideration of utilizing a complete count committee. Hello, Mr. Kavaskis.
Madam
Good
Chair,
evening.
Commissioners, As you can see from your agenda package that we have been working to ensure the accuracy of residential units here in Lee County. But getting the population to respond to the census is a whole different issue. And to that, we are fortunate enough to have Doug Bell with the U.S. Census, who will address that issue with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And this is my colleague, Eric Edelheit. May I approach and hand you all something?
Absolutely,
Okay.
please.
Here's some information that we would
Thank you, sir.
ultimately... Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Nice to meet you, too.
Phone.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We would like to reach out to you folks to see if we can partner with you to...
For Commissioner Reeves. Thank you.
Thank you. To create a complete count committee, which would be your committee, and would be loosely defined, and would be whatever you want it to be. There are different counties doing things more aggressively, more assertively. Some counties are actually putting money into it, some are not. You don't need to put money into it to make it a success. We would ask you to appoint and reach out to trusted voices in the community who could assist with obtaining a robust and hopefully high, well, that's a synonym, a robust and accurate count in the census. And I can run through a few of these things which pretty much detail what we would request.
Sure.
If I may, on the left side, first page, $675 billion is distributed by the federal government each year over the next 10 years beginning in 2020. That's in 2015 spending. That's distributed based on population. We are partnership specialists reaching out to communities to increase the participation in the census statewide. We have people doing our jobs in other states. So essentially it's a dogfight for a lot of money. A sense of civic pride. We'd love to help this county and the entire state beat the whole country and bring as much money as we can to this state. But it's fair to note that other people are being just as assertive and just as aggressive. The Census Bureau is spending a lot of money on marketing at the national level and the state level. We're also hiring 5,000 people here in this state to assist in the enumeration, which we'll get into in a second. And we're reaching out to you folks, not with money in hand, but with ideas and encouragement and motivation to create what we call a complete count committee. Getting back to this now, also one, possibly two congressional seats are on the line. If we can again get a robust count and provide motivation to all 100 counties in the state to create this complete count committee. The next one is a study done by George Washington University, which states that per capita there is a roundabout relationship between 1,600 and change per person tied to a robust count. So for that $675 billion being distributed, it roughly translates to 1,600 per person. So every person we can count, we can bring more money to the state and in effect into this county. The third piece of paper we have here, if you take note, Lee County, that is a misprint for 2000. You did not have a 6% response rate, which would mean a 94% non-response. What is accurate is your 2010, which is 74%, which means you had a fair amount of people who did not respond. You can put that perhaps on the back of the Census Bureau for not being aggressive enough in assisting with getting you an accurate count. Or we can just perhaps, it's pretty much what most states, what most counties in the state did at that point in time. We feel if we can raise that percentage up from 74% to just 80%, you're getting an extra congressional seat. And there's no way to directly tie how much more federal funding would be coming to this county. I think that would be a mathematical impossibility. However, it stands to reason, again, given the dogfight environment of what's about to happen in the next year, in terms of the assertiveness in other states, creating these committees for the purpose of creating more notoriety for getting an accurate count. On to the right side now, there is a map here. And the map, wherever you see orange, red means it is the most anticipated, hard to count part of the state. Orange is the next most anticipated hard-to-count area. Yellow is getting better, and white means it is anticipated there will be a very good count. So if you notice where Lee County is, you have a lot of yellow, which is good. You've got a bit of orange. And we'd like to focus any effort by a complete count committee on that area. These are likely hard to count people who would be either children under 5, who would be perhaps people experiencing homelessness, who would be minority groups, who would be people who don't trust the government, or perhaps immigrants. So I think a complete count committee consisting of volunteers, consisting of maybe members of your governing body, consisting of whoever you think should be on this committee, which would be, again, loosely defined, which could then break down into subcommittees, focusing on these specific areas that we just discussed, perhaps. We think that would be a great plan of attack. Such a committee could meet once a month. I would come and train the committee. I would encourage out-of-the-box thinking, lots of different ways to reach out. Should you decide to put a little bit of money into the budget for something like this, some counties it doesn't cost any money to print a statement on the property tax bill to make sure you're counted. That costs nothing. Some counties are putting signs in bus stops. So it doesn't require money, but if you choose to do that, it would certainly be good. Continuing a little more. This is about hard to count children. You can read that. But what is most intriguing is what comes up next is something you can go home and Google tonight. It's called ROAM, R-O-A-M, Response Outreach Area Mapper. It's a fascinating tool that we use and we would encourage you to use because it allows you to focus in on neighborhoods that we anticipate that are hard to count. And then we can look at why is that area hard to count. And of the populations I just mentioned, it's probably a good bet that these populations live in these hard to count areas. So I think there are a lot of things we can do to raise you up from 74%. The last one here is we're hiring 5,000 people to assist with the enumeration. And if you could begin immediately in whatever fashion you choose assisting us with gaining notoriety for this, we have a website and a phone number for people to reach out to assist us with filling these jobs. And the final document here, and I'm sorry I'm trying to rush this because I know you fit me in and I've got 5 minutes. So this is the manual that basically has everything we could possibly need for training a complete count committee, for breaking it up into the important subgroups that we just discussed. And we would be here for guidance throughout the process. And again, it can be as informal or as formal as you would like. And if I can answer any questions, please.
Any questions? We have our homework to do for sure.
Between the woman speaking about Medicaid, who I cannot possibly stand near, and then this, I don't know how your heads don't hurt at the end of the day.
They do sometimes.
That one.
But no, this is a good thing, and I know Mr. Kovaskis taught me about the census 10 years ago when I first came on the board, and we're excited about doing it again and getting better numbers. So we're in the process of selecting our committee now. So
Well,
this
great.
is timely, very timely.
Yes. And I think it can be fun and creative. I really don't think, I know you were all very busy. That's why we encourage delegating. And lots of great volunteers in the community would love to do things like this,
Sure.
especially as it pertains to the hard to count populations.
Most definitely.
So not to add to your plate, but to replenish and add some excitement, hopefully. We've got a whole year. The big thing this year is people can respond by internet, which has never been done before. And cards will go out to every address in the country in March of 2020. It will go to the address, not to anyone's name, and it will say, here are your 10 or 11 questions. And it'll go on until August, and then it will go to the president, and then it'll be done by September. So we've got a little bit of time.
Okay. Any questions?
Census.
Bell, where are you located at?
I'm in Wake County. Eric is in Durham. We have 8 partnership specialists in the state right now. We work for the Atlanta Regional Office of the Census Bureau, but we are based here. We will have a total of 40 when we're at full strength, strictly building partnerships like what I'm attempting to do. And it's a lot of people. So we're going to go all 100 counties. I think we're at about 70 now. We have not had one say no to creating a committee. Then we're going to go to the towns, then the villages, then the universities, then the sports teams. I'm already talking to the Carolina Hurricanes about things. I'm just developing partnerships everywhere I go.
Good.
For the purpose of this state really making this. And it's becoming personal for me because I would love to be able to say, look what we did in this state. And could be interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
It starts April 1st, but how long do people have to fill out the forms and get them in?
The forms go out in March. They will have a barcode. So all subsequent communication between the holder of that card, in cases of fraud, will be able to either have that scanned or read it out to whomever they're speaking to. So they would choose internet. You can do it. You can go right on the internet and do it right there, or you can fill it out by mail, or you can fill it out by phone. And if you don't want to do any of that, we'll come to your house. And if none of them, we'll go there 3 times, knock on the door 3 times. So it will be an exhaustive effort for everyone. And I think for those who are not internet savvy or don't have broadband, we know there are folks who don't, they have options. So there's really no excuse not to stand up and be counted. And with a major effort in a lot of rural counties is to coordinate transportation, getting people to libraries. In fact, that is the sole function of a couple complete count committees thus far in small rural counties, because that's really their big concern, is just getting folks who, hard to count people, get them to libraries where we can actually provide assistance at the libraries. So I think it's, I can't see how we could possibly do more at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll do our best.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much.
much.
And I will consult with Don
Okay.
further, and he's been a great liaison. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Safe travels back to Wake County and Durham County. Thank you very much. Okay, the February 2019 financial report, Ms. Minter. Good evening.
Before you have the financial report for February. It starts on page 112 of your agenda package. I'll just continue to remind you, as always, that sales tax revenues run 3 months behind, so do not be alarmed by that low percentage. Tax collections as a percentage of the budget through February 2019, it should say, excuse me, are 2.76% ahead of the same time period last year, which means our tax department is continuing to do an outstanding job to collect our taxes. In reviewing expenditures, this percentage use target is 66.67%. As you know, I have to include encumbrances on your report, so the numbers are skewed. But if you take those out, we have a few departments that are still running over that target. Finance is one of those due to the paying for the annual audit. Strategic Services is overdue to the upfront payment of maintenance agreements. Soil Conservation is overdue to the payment for their new shelter. And then juvenile detention is still running over, and we're continuing to monitor that, determine if a budget amendment will be necessary. Sales tax reports are attached also. Those begin on page 115. Our numbers through December have looked really good. We are back in the range of a 5% growth. So December sales were good in Lake County. So we just need to hope that that continues through the rest of the year. I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody may have.
I was at Lowe's the other day. Hard to find parking.
Good. I was at Walmart the other day. Similar problem. No, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good news. Okay. Do you have anything?
I was just going to say juvenile detention is going to do nothing but go up because of the change in the age.
Yes.
So next year, we'll be looking at that in the upcoming budget, because we will probably have to up that number quite a bit to, handle the 17 and 18-year-olds.
And
Be, held as juveniles instead of adults, so, we're expecting a lot of
And we'll be probably
changes with that.
I'll be working with Ms. Parrish and Ms. Campbell, but we'll probably have a resolution next month. The JCPC, they passed a resolution on their board for additional funding because of that. But the way the resolution read, I felt like we needed to work on it a little bit. It was a little bit too boxed in for our board as far as the funding was concerned. But we do, I think, at least what the state folks are signaling to JCPC is they at least would like to have a resolution of just a commitment, just a general commitment that we'll do all we can to support them with the new legislation. So, anything else, Mr. Crumpton?
No, we're just working through the revow. Board of E&R starts April 10th.
Mm-hmm.
April 10th, so they're pretty much finished with most of the desk reviews, and so now it's on to the more formal process.
996 appeals?
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. I'm going to reprint the report and get it out to you, but got cut off a little bit. So, but I'll have all those numbers to you. But yes, and a majority of it, as we expected, 12% of the commercial properties have appealed.
Yep.
So, we figured. But it's like our staff has shown the comps, and I think people leave shaking their head. So, because the comps are the comps.
That's right. Okay. All right, Commissioner comments. Commissioner DeBlanco.
Just happy spring. It was chilly today, but I know that spring is coming. My usually gray car was yellow today, so trying to delight in the pollen. It means spring is coming. So.
Okay. Exactly. Commissioner Douglas?
I don't really have anything other than this is why I turned this face out. I got some unusual looks tonight. I don't want to let it be known this is A&W cream soda, not an alcoholic beverage. So that'll probably be the last time I'll bring one. I got some looks. So that's all.
Just for the record. Okay. Dr. Connect?
I'm good.
Okay.
I will be going to the Medicaid workshop in Durham on the 10th. I'll let you know how it turns out.
God bless you.
The North Carolina Association of County Commissions is sponsoring that with the School of Government. I didn't write down who it was. I just know I'm going to be there.
Good. Okay, kind of to dovetail on the happy spring, remember the tractors are on the roads again. I'm doing my, agricultural PSA. Be careful, because I got behind one earlier today. Happened to be one of ours, so I had to be extra nice. So just be careful, because it's terrifying what somebody, some people just don't understand, and they take terrible chances. So be extra careful. And then also, because growing season has begun, one of our local breweries had an event Saturday night that was great. Hugger Mugger celebrated the 10th anniversary of our Farm to Table initiative that we do really in conjunction with Moore County, but we also have some other surrounding counties have some farmers involved, but they are now taking subscriptions for your box of food. There's several places to pick it up, mostly at the Ag Center, but they have lots of different sizes, and every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, it's a good way to support the local farmers in our communities. So I just encourage you to do that. We farm a lot of things, but we don't have time to do a garden anymore, so we rely on those boxes, just like folks that aren't in farming. Okay, at this time, is there a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that we go into closed session for North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, little a, number 6, to discuss personnel matter.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're in closed session. Thank you.
Candy wrapper and shirt.